What's going on, everyone? I'm back at it. The Squareback's been kind of acting weird lately ever since the whole carburetor situation, so it takes a while for the engine to even turn over. Well, actually, I mean, it turns over just fine, but it takes a while for it to actually start. So right now, let's see. It's kind of weird. See, before it'd be like instant. There you go. So I think there's just something wrong with my timing or the way my carburetors are set, but it's just not like how it used to be. So I just need to kind of fiddle around with it a little bit more. I am going to be going over to ISP West. I am going to be picking up a number of things, and I have a project in store for you guys. I'm going to be rebuilding some things, so picking up some parts from there, and I wanted to bring you guys along. Take a look at my friend Spider over here. Hey buddy. Really quick, I wanted to give a quick update on this thing. So I feel like I got really lucky on this. So this was my original dash. It's the original 67 one with the holes, and it's obviously like super cracked and destroyed. So what I got was a reproduction one here, and obviously this is not the period correct one because it has like the slits here instead of the holes. And the previous owner of it, I actually got this used, but the previous owner actually riveted on their VIN number there. But I've been looking all over the classifieds for one that is this style, but at least within my budget, and it's like impossible until I found this guy. So I was really pumped when I found this. It's actually in pretty decent shape, and it wasn't really too far of a drive. It was probably like a 30-minute drive out. It looks like it's the original style here with the holes. The only issue is this is cracked here, but I think if I glue that down, it should be pretty hidden. Now, the only thing is I was like super excited about getting this because of course it's like identical to the original one. And the thing is, apparently I found out that at one point there was a company that was like reproducing these, but because these holes don't actually go through, I think this actually is a reproduction and not an original one. So that's kind of a bummer, but I mean, I still would like to go this style instead of the one I currently have. Oh, also, I didn't even show this, but I got these seat cover things. They're like wooden beads. Yeah, I don't know. I saw a video on YouTube. I'll try to see if I can find it and link it, but it was like this guy in Japan. He was showcasing his Squareback, a right-hand drive Squareback, and he had these, and I thought it was really cool. It kind of just like matches my floor and my roof rack here. So I have that now. But anyways, back to the dash. Yeah, I mean, this is an okay shape, but it's just not technically period correct. But this one, I just really need to clean it up. I mean, there's like dry glue or tape right there. Fix that crack. And yeah, I'll put this in. This bed rack or roof rack here, I've had this net thing here from my truck bed for a really long time, and I never really used it anymore. I was actually going to give it away until I realized it's the exact dimension of this roof rack. So it's like plastic clips here, so it's not going to scratch the paint. I think maybe I'll switch it up to kind of like an old school looking style, but for now it actually fits really nice. Like I can put stuff down there and it should hold it down without me having to really strap it down. I think it looks pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep it. But yeah, the seats, I really like those seat covers. Like you can actually really see the color there, and it really matches the roof rack. It's a lot better when I have it out in the sun. So let me start it up and pull it out. And here it is out in the sun. And it looks pretty good to me, at least. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? If I should just take that off or leave it? I think it looks all right. And yeah, the seat covers there. I think it just really highlights the low back seats pretty well. All right, so let's go over to ISP West. All right, we're pulling up to ISP West. If you've been here, you'll know that the roads are really, really scary. Like there's just potholes everywhere. There's somebody behind me. There it is. ISP West. All right, let's go inside. So I'm just waiting for my order. I gave them like a list of like 10 parts or something. This is the famous notchback they have here. $2,000. That thing is huge. Check out this fastback. I was talking to the guy, I don't know his name yet, but he's the guy helping me out. Thanks, man. It's also a 67. Looks pretty sweet. Yeah, this is really cool. I've actually never parked my car up here on this area. I mean, I've been here several times, but just it's pretty cool seeing this here. All right, I got most of what I wanted to get here at ISP, so I picked up a new cargo mat. This is going to be the covers for that, and I got a bunch of little things here, so I'll show you what I got when I get home. Okay, it's been a couple days and I'm back at this again. I took that piece of carpet rug thing off and I just completely replaced it with this. And honestly, this looks so much better than that. I mean, the overall fitment and the look and the way that it even matches the rear of the seat looks really, really nice. I mean, that could be a little bit darker. I don't know if I'm gonna repaint that. I do have a friend who, actually, matter of fact, he bought my old Squareback, but he bought two of these and then he cut this one up to fit right there. That way that and this matches perfectly. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, this is like $100 from ISP West. So I don't know if that's something I want to invest in right now. Also, I did do like a custom handle thing here. This was just like a piece of strap thing and I just screwed it in there. So now I have a handle. These things, I mean, I absolutely hate that they make such a mess right here. And it is original, but I mean, seeing that I do have the replacement rubber pieces, I think I'm just gonna rip these off. I might do that off camera, but yeah, those have to go. Now let's see this whole front beam assembly here. So funny enough, I actually have been looking for a front beam for some time now, and it's been proven a little bit difficult to find a complete replacement from from rotor to rotor. I found one in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was so close to driving all the way over there. It's something like over 350 miles one way. I was looking around for like a Prius that I can borrow so I can kind of save some money on gas. But yeah, fortunately I kind of changed my search words on OfferUp. Instead of putting like type 3 or something, I put T3, and somehow this one came up, and this guy's been trying to sell this for like the past 4 years or something. And obviously there's some key differences between the older style and the newer style. The older, I forget what year cutoff it is, where they have like the wide fives, those don't work. I think something like 70 through 73, I think, are also different. So it needs to be like a specific year. I want to say like, I don't know, 67 to 69, I think, is the proper year for the same one of my Squareback. And I got lucky and found this one. I, of course, want to rebuild the entire thing. Originally, I wanted to take the beam off of my Squareback right there and then rebuild that. I mean, I'm trying to set myself up so that I don't have to have the Squareback down for so long, because I really want to take my time on this. So what I want to do is completely rebuild this off the side, and then when I'm ready and done, I'll put this into my Squareback and just pretty much do that in like a day or something. I've got a bunch of parts here to start rebuilding this entire thing. This is what I bought from ISP West. So these seals here, there's like the O-ring and then this other rubber. Let me actually take it out so you can kind of see that. But yeah, basically there's these O-rings here and then these other rubber pieces that go here and there, and then same thing on the passenger side here and there. The other things I got is some hardware as well. So these are the grub screw things and the locking nut that holds this arm here onto the rod. Same thing for the top here and right there. This side here, I think somebody just put in a bolt. It shouldn't be a bolt because it should be like a point like that, so I'm gonna be replacing that one. And then these arms, I do plan on taking these over to Russ over at Old Speed so that they can get shortened. I think he shortens them about an inch or so that way I get like a narrow track. And also with these spindles, I want to see if I can drop them off to get chopped up, and he can do the drop spindles on these pretty well. So eventually I'll get to doing that. I have a whole bunch of other parts here, like tie rods. I have like the steering coupler and then new ball joints as well. These are all of these are from my local VW shop, IPC, and then I have the receipt here for the ISP West. I got type 1 short axles. So these are also the short splined axles here, along with the tubes. So these axle tubes should be pretty much the same length, except these casings or castings or whatever they're called. This is actually shorter than the Type 3, which is like this far. I have to figure out what else I need. So I have the axles, the tubes. I don't think I'm gonna be needing the backing plates and the drums because these are also the wide 5s. So those I'm not gonna use. I'm gonna continue to use my 4x130 lug as well as the drum, but I think I'm supposed to machine off a piece of the hub for it to fit or something because they are the shorter splines. And then also I need to figure out the whole seal plate thing situation. So I will deal with that another time. That's gonna be later. This is gonna be later. I'm not gonna think about that. So let's get back to the Squareback. Okay, now on to the bane of my existence, which is this whole carburetor situation. Oh man. So I think it may have something to do with the fact that it's starting to get a little bit cold here in California. The chokes on these carburetors, I really never bothered setting them up because from what I was told and based on my research, a lot of people just kind of disable these and kind of leave their chokes completely wide open. Because here in California, they say it stays hot all the time. Hot and cold, that's all relative. This is the first winter that I have this car fully functional. I think that may be my issue why I'm having like a rough start. I've done a whole bunch of stuff and it's still kind of weird. And I have a feeling that, yeah, the chokes may be being affected. So I'm gonna take out these carburetors and start working on these, see if I can do anything. Carburetors are now removed. These are the two that I have been running. Basically, when I first took these apart to rebuild them like 3 or 4 years ago, I thought I was being a cool guy and I pretty much painted everything on here. And it's started to kind of come off because of all the fuel. I thought they looked really nice and pretty because they were all repainted and everything. And then I realized that these chokes actually needed to ground out through this plate here and then through the screws and then to the body of the carburetor and then into the engine. Yeah, now I learned my lesson, and because I found out that was not going to work with my setup over the summer and during the hotter seasons, it was running totally fine. And now I'm having kind of like a harder cold start. I wanted to take these out and kind of scrape off the paint off of here and all that stuff so that I'm still running these. I mean, I do have a whole bunch of these spare carburetors. So I started taking them apart and I think I'm just gonna reuse some of these other ones that I have. And I kind of went through every single one of them, like these ones here, this pair. This tab is broken, so I just don't really want to deal with that. And then these other ones here, I mean, I think they're gonna be okay, but these are actually Solex 3234, whereas the rest of these are 32 PDSIT, and same thing over here. 32 PDSITs. These, and these are identical. Those are different, so I think I'm just gonna leave those alone. So I don't wanna use that. I am gonna use these chokes here. And there's actually a way to verify if these chokes are working properly as they should. And all you really need is like a battery jumper or any kind of battery. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get your battery source or your power source or something. And in this case, I'm using this jumper here. Just gonna make sure that's on. And now I'm gonna connect the power side to this terminal here without touching the body, just like that. And I'll turn that so that you can see the coil on the inside. And then clamp this down here to the housing. With that power going through, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. I'm gonna maybe put this on a time lapse or something. It may be hard to see. Let me actually grab a light. As this coil gets hot, it will start to kind of wind up this way, I think. We'll see, either this way or that way. You'll see that during the time lapse, but this should start to turn now that I have power running through it. Oh, you can kind of see that going this way. Okay, so I think you get the point. Basically, the longer this has power through it, the more that's gonna want to coil. I'm gonna double check to see if this one works. I mean, it should. I checked it earlier, so it should be okay. I'm just gonna do that off camera. Okay, now that I've verified that both of these are working, I think I'm just gonna spend some time to clean these up with some carb cleaner or something. Also, I have to make sure these plates here are nice and clean so that they make nice contact in grounding them out. as well as all of the screws and hardware holding them together. But in the meantime, I wanted to also make sure these are working, because my carburetors actually didn't even have that. It had this separate valve here. I think they're called like automatic fuel cutoff valves or something like that, where once you put power through it, it will open, and then once power is taken off of it, like from the coil, then it will close it. And what that does is it will prevent fuel to continuously pour into the carburetor with the engine off. And I think they call it like dieseling or something like that. I don't know. These are also really easy to check to see if they're working. What you want to do is essentially just put threads on the ground and then put power straight to here. And if they work, you should hear a sound like a click, indicating that the valve inside is opening and closing. So I've already checked these and verified they don't work, but I'll just show you. That's definitely not doing anything. Let's check this other one. Same thing. These are both dead. I actually got the ones off of these carburetors that I didn't want to take the choke off. I got these ones. These actually work and you can hear them. You hear that? Once you put power through it, it will open this valve, and then when you release the power, it will close the valve. So that's working. And let's check the other one. So that's good news. So I will also be cleaning these up and using them on my carburetors. I have my Berryman Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner here. And to be honest, I mean, I don't know if it's okay to have my chokes in there. I'll clean it up and I'll retest them, make sure they work. I hope they didn't just break because I dunked it in there, but whatever. So what's most important is the areas that need to be cleaned are basically this ledge here, this whole entire plate, as well as these screws. And the reason why you need to have those completely clean and conductive is because all you're really doing is just putting a power line here. And as far as completing the circuit goes, it needs to ground from this to the plate to the screw, and then jumps over into the body of the carburetor. In between the choke and the carb, there's supposed to be like a paper gasket. It's hard to see, but it's right there. And even when I was cleaning this, I had to chip away some of the old gaskets there. And I'm really hoping that these gaskets here are salvageable, because I'm gonna need to reuse them. You'll see here on the bottom of the choke, it says RE on one side, and on the other side here it says L1. And I have to match that up with this one here, L1 and RE. So when I take these apart, I'm gonna slap these on and make sure they're on the right side. Here I have both the chokes removed off of my carburetors here, and it was kind of tricky. Basically, long story short, this carburetor was missing that bottom piece there, so I got like these new plates and I put JB Weld and I shut that. But basically, since the JB Weld was like still wet, I, for some reason, I guess, reinstalled everything, and basically this little plunger here got stuck to the JB Weld underneath. I had to break this free and shove my pliers in here and kind of lift up that plunger, because before this was completely seized, and I thought it was something to do with the mechanism here, but turns out it was the plunger. So yeah, that's nice and free now. This one should still open and close, same as this other side here. I also just had to free that up because of that guy. I'll put these to the side. I'm not gonna take off the paint on them anytime soon, maybe later, whatever. So these are gonna be the one that I'm now gonna be using. All right, so there's supposed to be like a weird trick to putting these on. So I have this paper gasket here that's fortunately still in pretty good shape, so I'm just gonna leave that on there. Now, when I put this on, basically this arm here, you have to make sure it goes onto the right side on the orientation of this carburetor. So let's see if this is gonna stay closed like that and then eventually open. That means I have the wrong choke, and it should be this one, because this arm here essentially goes like that when it's cold, and then when it warms up, this will spool that way, thus turning this guy open just like that. This notch right here, that technically is supposed to be lined up in relation to this dot here, but I noticed that, let's see, this is the L1. Let's take a look at the other L1 here. You see this line versus the other one, this line here, the orientation of where this is to that, the gap is so much bigger compared to this that goes right there. So I guess I'm just gonna install this the way I feel it should be installed. I don't know, I mean, there may be people that know exactly how to do this, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Oop, I'm spilling gas everywhere. Oops. Let's see, because right now it's kind of cold, I'm gonna clock this so that this choke will be closed. Not all the way, maybe just a little bit. So see how technically at this point, this notch matches up with that dot, but I'm gonna keep going just a little bit further and make sure this, is actually closed, or kind of closed. And I don't need it to be fully 100% closed, maybe just kind of like that. But basically, as it gets hot, this coil in here will start to turn and then open this one slowly. But since it's cold, obviously that's just gonna stay like that. Maybe I'll just close it a little bit more so it's a little bit past that line. Oh, there it is. Just like that, I guess. I don't know. I'll adjust as needed, but for now, that's how I'll do it. So now I'm just gonna put this plate back on. Both carburetors are now completely reassembled, and I just hooked up the battery again just to double check and make sure everything's working. And I guess another reason why I shouldn't use any Teflon tape onto the valve thing is because, again, that does need to ground onto the body. So with all of the Teflon, it's just gonna defeat the purpose. There you go. That means that's working. Now I'm just gonna hook up the choke and then kind of set a time lapse, and then you'll see this flap slowly start to open. That's not doing anything. I mean, it does have a lot less resistance. Maybe once the engine's running and there's like some suction going through, maybe that will eventually open it. See, I mean, it did open very easily, so I think maybe once there is air going through, it should pop open. See, it does feel kind of springy going this way too. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call that good. We'll see. Carburetors are now physically bolted in, and before I even test anything, I have to actually make a new little harness thing like this. This one actually came with the car when I got it, but I never bothered using it because I didn't even have chokes. I mean, I had chokes, I just never wired it up. I can't exactly use this one because this only has a circuit that goes to the choke and not to the actual valves, like those things over there. Here is my homemade little harness. I ended up using a red 18 gauge wire here because I guess technically it's like the positive side of the coil. This one here will go to the right side choke. This one will go to the valve on the right side. This one here will go to the left side choke. This one goes to the coil, and this one goes to the valve. So let me just hook this up really quick. It should be pretty easy. Just snap it in there, and then I'll see if I can get this car to start. I have the battery hooked up and the key to the ignition on the accessory side. Now over here, when I make contact from the chokes and the valve over to the coil, you can actually hear it start. And it's on both sides, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna put some starter fluid into both of the carburetors, and then, oh, I still need to hook up the fuel line, but get everything ready here, and then it should start with the starting fluid, but I'm gonna turn it off and then start it up again, and hopefully it should start up with no issues. Okay, this should just start up pretty easily, hopefully. Very nice. So that started up super easy. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the engine to run for some time, and then maybe we'll see these chokes actually open up. Well, the engine starts right up. Now my issue is keeping it running. And oh, look at that. It actually opened up. That opened up. Let's see the other one. That opened right up too. Good news. All right, yep, my chokes are working. So it may be an issue with like my idle and all of that extra stuff that I don't really care for adjusting right now, at least, but at least I know it's running and those are working, so that's a win. So this should be okay. It's better than it was before. It's just before it would take me like 30 seconds to start it. Now it starts right up, but it dies after a little bit. So that's a problem for tomorrow, Jeremy. One last start for good measure. Yep, it starts right up. I just have to feather the gas just a little bit, but I mean, I still consider that a win. Idle right above 1,000, maybe 1,100 or something, 1,200. But that should even out as it gets pretty warm to about like 800 or 900, but we'll see. I'll have to adjust and play around with the idle. But yeah, call that a win. So I adjusted the idle screw here along with the fuel air mixture screw thingy, and I synchronized both carburetors here and there, and now the engine's actually idling pretty well. Let me just show you real quick. I'm not even gonna touch the gas pedal. There it goes. So the engine's already pretty warmed up and it's idling just around 750, 800, give or take. So there still needs a little bit more adjustment, but at least it's holding up. All right, we're back on track, guys.